Once again, as we start with the general and starting now to close into the more specific, we introduce another topic or a new topic for the student to work with, and that is creating a shopping list. First of all, we introduce the fact of what it's like shopping without a shopping list. Now, this may seem very odd or a very strange topic to bring up because, again, the idea here is that, why do I need a shopping list? I'm just going in for one or two things. We have some very specific reasons why we attend to this idea of shopping list, because there are several important lessons that we teach out of it. First of all, we introduce the student to the idea of having a list and why it's important. And there are several key elements that are brought to bear at this point in time. First, the idea of having a shopping list often prevents us from buying more than what we need. Many times we hear from students about their experiences in going into a store, whether that be a food store, a grocery, a pharmacy, a clothing store, a shoe store. And they tell us, we went in and we just needed one pair of shoes, but we found a belt and we found a pair of pants and there was a blouse over here that we wanted. And by the time we were done, we ended up spending way more money than we really should have. We've got the goods, but now we're sort of disappointed that we spent too much money and bought too many things. So the concept of the shopping list hones in on the fact that it is preferential to plan the idea of the purchase. If you plan the idea of the purchase, then you know exactly beforehand what you need and what you don't need. And if you stick to the list, then you know you only have the things that you really need, and then that you're not tempted to buy other things outside of what's on the list. The second lesson that we teach many times through the idea of making a shopping list is the idea of what does it take to produce a meal. For instance, if I were to say to you, we're going to have a meal this evening, there's going to be two of us, and we'd like to have some salmon, delicious salmon fish meal. What would we need to buy in order to provision a meal for two people for salmon? This allows the student to actually contemplate the idea of portion size. And this is where, again, we are able to teach a number of lessons at one time. Well, what size of portion of fish is appropriate for an individual? Would it be 5 pounds or would it be 5 ounces? And again, we can let the students self-explore. Well, how much fish do you eat? What size would you want? Oh, about the size of your hand. Okay. Well, what do you think that weighs? And then we go and we actually look at different sizes of serving sizes. And the student then can actually very accurately gauge, the portion size to the meal size, and then decide to make the purchase based on that amount. This is a very interesting process to watch as well, because people very often don't associate, for instance, weights or volumes to the serving size and therefore then to the cost. They just simply many times will go in, look at a fish and go, oh, $4 fish, $3 fish. I'm going to buy the $3 fish. Not realizing that the reason one price is less than the other is because there's a smaller portion. So this is an opportunity to increase the numeracy capacity of students if they don't have that well, and to do physical size comparisons on serving sizes. So they get a full concept of what size of serving they need and how to appropriately gauge the amount and price they should pay for it. The next opportunity that we get here with the shopping list is, again, to make sure that they are efficient in their shopping processes. By having a list and understanding what I need to get, I can, when I arrive at my favorite store, put those things in some degree of order so that I can go first to the closest thing that I need, then to the next, then to the next, and minimize my time in the store. Because oftentimes, once again, our students may not equate the fact that the time they spend in the store is, in essence, time lost. They can't recover that time again. So if they're more efficient in their searching within the store, understanding what the product is they're looking for and where it's at, making those purchases very, very quickly as they need to, and then going out to the clerk or to the checkout, they've maximized their time. And as you'll see in a few lessons later, time is in fact money. Finally, the lesson that we often like to teach with the idea of making a shopping list is that we reinforce the previous two learnings, and that is portion size and then efficiency of making a list. And that is, we give the student a scenario. And one of the scenarios we get is that there is a group of young people that are coming over. And we often use a small sports team, like a soccer team or a volleyball team, that your family or your village has decided to host for a meal. And there are 12 of them that are coming. And it's your job to prepare the menu, the shopping list that's going to provision the meal that these 12 sports figures are about to take part of. And then again, in the North American context, we make that meal around what we would call a home style or home cooking meal: fried chicken, mashed potatoes, vegetables, salad, those types of things. We ask our students to conceptualize a shopping list, again, putting portion size and price together, and make a shopping list to provision that meal for those 12 people. And I can tell you from personal experience, it's quite hilarious at times to watch the students working, trying to decide on how much of what to get, and should I buy a larger size and only use portions of it because the price is lower, or should I pay a higher price for a smaller portion because I only need a little? Again, that dynamic is priceless in the ability for them to self-learn this idea of aggregating the price to the cost to the portion size, and how that impacts the idea of the shopping list. So again, I encourage you to look at that and perhaps utilize that exercise in your training efforts as you talk about shopping lists and the importance of those lists.